beating yourself up. It's like self-bullying, and I've been doing it my whole life. I've gotten a master's. I got my PhD in beating myself up. And this morning I was tapping, and I was tapping on, I refuse to choose to beat myself up. And then I would find specific things that I have been judging myself for, beating myself up, and tapping on them. And I want to share this with you because I'm sure that you have something that you beat yourself up about, and maybe you're ambidextrous, maybe you multitask, maybe you can do more than one thing. So we're going to do some really powerful tapping this morning. And again, you'll hear roosters in the background. They wake me up every morning here at Namaste Village, where I live in Ajijic, Mexico. It's a beautiful way to wake up. It's nature's alarm clock. But anyway, let's get to the point. So, I like to think of it as bullying. You know, I was actually physically bullied, beat up when I was a child, shamed and ridiculed for having feminine energy, called a sissy, a pussy, all kinds of things. And just, that's just, and my parents as well, you know, would just shame and ridicule as part of how they learned to deal with life as far as how they were parented. Well, they passed it on to me. And so I learned that if I am really hard on myself, that other people tend to leave me alone. So my beating myself up started in childhood as a way to protect myself from what seemed like a cruel world, and certainly a shaming parental viewpoint from my parents and some of my teachers. So the history lesson is over. Let's get to the present moment, and let's think of something that you have been down on yourself for, beating yourself up. And we're going to use this affirmation: I refuse to choose to beat myself up. It may not feel like a choice because it's so habitual that you don't sit around going, I choose to beat myself up. But it's good to start to get this in your head, that on some subconscious level, it is a choice to keep repeating old programs. And now that you're awake enough to question whether you want to continue to do this or not, now that you're open to the possibility there may be another way of being with yourself than the harshness of self-bullying. Now that you're open to that, you can acknowledge that on some level it has been a choice, and it's a choice that you can start to unchoose. So let's do this together. Why don't you start with one specific thing that you don't need to mention? I won't hear it. And feel as best as you can the pain, the blame, the shame, the guilt that comes along with being hard on yourself. Because the more you can get in touch with the pain, how it makes you feel, the more EFT, the tapping that we're about to do, can help clear it. And of course, for most of us, beating yourself up is such a core issue that you just chip away at it. You chip away at it by tapping regularly on this video or others that help. And you chip away at it by replacing the old negative self-talk with conscious, intentional self-talk of kindness. And you become willing to fake it, to sound weird to yourself, but just get the energy moving and keep it going every day. And I promise you that eventually it's not going to feel phony anymore. But you have to build a new habit to replace the old habit. I've said enough. Nice deep breath. Don't try to repeat my words because I speak too fast. And I want you to find your feelings, stay with them, breathe. Breathe deeply and sweetly. And let what I say wash over you. And anything I say that doesn't feel like it relates, doesn't fit for you, just let it go. Take the best and leave the rest. So even though I have this habit of beating myself up, I choose to refuse to beat myself up. And I choose to love and honor and accept myself. Even though somewhere along the line I learned that it would be a good thing to be the first one to be hard on myself. That the harder I am on myself, the more my parents and the world might not punish me. They might leave me alone if I'm the first one to beat myself up. And even though I may have learned this pattern, I am willing to unlearn it. And I'm willing and able to love, honor, and accept myself. Even though the part of me that beats myself up for my supposed faults and weaknesses and inadequacies has good intentions, wants to protect me, I choose to love, honor, and accept myself, and to trust that every part of me, every thought, every behavior is trying to help. And I love all parts of me for doing their best to help me survive. And it's time for them and every part of me to get the memo that I have mastered survival and am now practicing thriving. And now that I'm ready to thrive, I don't need harsh criticism, shame, and guilt to become a better person. It's never really worked anyway. Oh, this beating myself up. This guilting and shaming and blaming myself. I'm always the first one to make myself wrong. And I refuse to continue to choose to beat myself up. I would never take anyone into an alleyway and beat them up physically or even verbally. I would never do that to anyone. And I have been. I've been doing it to myself. Maybe unwittingly, certainly unconsciously. But I'm now willing to take a really good look at the harshness of my self-criticism and call it what it is. It's verbal abuse. And it makes my inner child so fearful and scared and uncomfortable and guilty and maybe angry. And then he or she does anything to get some relief from this verbal inner abuse. Like eating more than I should, or procrastinating certain things. And then my inner critic gets down on me for doing the things that I'm only doing to try to get some relief from this incessant chatter of self-judgment. And so the vicious cycle continues until now. This is the end, or at least a major beginning in unraveling, releasing, and completing this phase of my journey. The story of my life, as told by my ego, has been full of guilt. And that story is officially over. I'm writing a new chapter. I'm starting a new book. I refuse to choose to beat myself up ever again. And if I do, I will not beat myself up for that because, hey, habits can be hard to change. But this is one I'm committed to changing. Perhaps more than any other habit, I am now officially willing to replace negative self-talk with positive, loving, kind, nurturing, supportive, encouraging self-dialogue, even when it feels phony, even when it doesn't seem to be making a difference. I choose to commit to this in some regular form or manner as diligently as I brush my teeth. I choose to refuse to stop beating myself up about anything anymore and replace that habit with loving self-kindness. Being kind and gentle to myself. I love you, self. You've always done your best. And you will continue to be lovable no matter what you think. You are always wholly lovable no matter what you've done, no matter what you do, and no matter what you think. I love you. Dropping the self-judgment like a hot potato. Recognizing, ouch, those thoughts hurt. I'm going to drop them. No longer needing or willing to cause myself pain. Dropping those thoughts like a hot potato. Opening my heart to see myself as innocent and precious and ever so worthy of love. Refusing to choose to beat myself up and taking myself into the sunlight and the warmth of a new loving relationship with myself starting now. Taking baby steps every day, understanding that stumbling and falling down is inevitable, picking myself, dusting myself off, and marching on into the light of a new, kind, gentle, encouraging, loving relationship with myself in body, mind, and spirit. Lather, rinse, and certainly repeat and have fun. And if I can be there for you in any way, you know where to reach me, down in the box.